Among Labour's least popular policies since coming to power is the move to means test the winter fuel payment to cut back on the number of pensioners who receive the support. Just as it comes to autumn, this is not only a moral but also a strategic disaster waiting to happen for the Labour Party. Many people who would naturally be sympathetic and willing to give the new government good grace have older relatives who will struggle when this cut goes through. Even if they are eligible, the process for claiming involves printing and filling out this daunting 243-page application form. A great many pensioners in poverty are isolated from their local community and won't have the support, internet access, or tech literacy to print out and fill out this form. The obvious cruelty of this policy didn't deter the Labour leadership, however, who have refused to commit to a wealth tax that they could have easily implemented instead and saved the pensioners the trouble of going through this horrendous form. At conference, however, the unions were having none of it and put forward a motion to abandon this cruel and pointless policy. And the unions won the vote. The Guardian reports, Sharon Graham, the General Secretary of Unite, opened the debate, criticising Keir Starmer for removing the allowance while leaving the super-rich untouched. Speaking to loud applause, she told delegates, "Our public services and British industry need investment now. It's no good having sympathy for workers at Grangemouth losing their jobs. They don't need pity. They need Labour to step up to the plate and not allow a billionaire who buys a football club as a hobby to throw those workers on the scrap heap." She added, "We are the 6th richest economy in the world. We have the money. Britain needs investment, not austerity Mark II. We won't get any gold badge for shaving peanuts off our debt. It's the wrong decision and it needs to be reversed." I suspect that Starmer will ignore this vote. I think he's got very little respect for democracy. We know that he's trying to water down democracy in the Labour Party more generally, but I really don't know what will happen. Harry, I'm interested in your thoughts on this one.
So that vote was a non-binding vote. For those who are listening who are not sure what that means, it means that Labour don't really need to do anything about it. It's basically just like a how do we feel about this? Let's have a show of hands, which is quite literally how that vote was decided. I think the unions need to put their money where their mouth is. I think the unions should be withdrawing their funding from the Labour Party because it's very clear that Labour do not give a monkeys about what the unions think. And ultimately, money is what talks. We know that. We've seen it throughout the various scandals that have been going on with this party. And I think Sharon Graham is justifiably very angry, but I feel like she needs to withdraw Unite's funding, because what is the point? Labour's not listening to you. They don't care. They'll happily take your funding and your support, but they won't listen to what you're saying. And it's not her that's just saying this. All the other union leaders are saying this. Dave Ward, Mick Lynch, you name them, they're saying it. It's a very unpopular decision. And they frame Labour's whole thing is we're not afraid to make the tough decisions. How is it a tough decision to take money from pensioners? I mean, I can understand from the Conservative angle, for sure, even though in 2017, the Conservative Party wanted to potentially cut winter fuel allowance. And Labour's own review into the policy said it could take the lives of 4,000 pensioners. Now, I mean, we're currently in September, and it's already feeling very cold in the evenings. So you can only imagine what it's going to be like in November, December, when those payments would come through. If one person ends up getting hospitalised by it, it's a scandal. If one person loses their life over this as a result of not receiving that payment, who knows what's going to happen. But ultimately, again, kind of circling back to the main point I was making, I think the unions need to withdraw their funding in order to really hammer it home that this policy is so unpopular. And everyone thinks it.
Yeah, there's an effect that often happens in authoritarian regimes where people get surrounded by yes men. It's the isolation of the dictator. Not saying Starmer is a dictator necessarily. I'm saying that the thinking inside the leadership needs a bit of pushback. Even from a point of view of we're your friends trying to help you out, you don't want to be surrounded by yes men, because this is bad strategy. The Labour Party obviously is trying to imitate the way that the Tories are harsh to voting blocks who disagree with them. The problem is that pensioners are a very powerful voting bloc in this country. They vote consistently, they have political representation, and they have media representation as well. And that's really come through for the Labour Party.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, sometimes I am of the opinion if you're pissing off the pensioners, perhaps you're doing a good thing, particularly when it comes to house building. With this time round, I mean, like, everyone's got older relatives, and even if they're no longer alive, you remember you remember them, and you think of them fondly. Yes, this current generation of pensioners have had it quite good in this country. They've got houses on the cheap. They didn't really have to. There were a few geopolitical issues going on, but they never really had to perhaps worry about. They didn't have 2 financial crashes in their lifetime. So I think we're kind of one. Sorry. So it's when they were younger. So I think, and kind of the response that I've seen from people sort of my own age that aren't really that asked about it, and I'm like, but why? Like, these are people at the end of the day, just because they've supported a political party that has inflicted some devastating cuts, particularly towards disabled people, other vulnerable persons, doesn't mean that they should be subject to the same treatment. Eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. It's not an effective policy platform. But I think when the payments do get cut, when the budget happens, I think we will start to see what people really think.
Yeah, and I do hope that those who are like sort of pushing towards that rhetoric of like, well, it's their turn now type thing, really do reconsider, because I hope that we can be kind of better than that. I really do hope that that we can, like, because every pensioner should have enough support and enough money.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the thing. So in a time where we've kind of seen at the moment with the various freebie scandals that are going on, you have somebody like Keir Starmer that deems a pensioner on £13,000 a year well off enough not to receive winter fuel allowance. Yet since 2019, he has received more than £100,000 worth of freebies, maybe slightly less. It's completely insane. Why does he need all this stuff? But pensioners don't need money to go towards their heating. Also, I mean, like, this is the thing. When people talk about means testing, they present it as a way of saving money. Means testing is always going to cost more, because the money you may save from not giving certain pensioners that money is going to have to be reinvested into hiring assessors who will have a financial incentive for where there will be incentives for them not to find people legible for winter fuel allowance. Ultimately, if pensioners are getting cold and they need support, they're going to go towards public services like the NHS, which is going to create more strain on them. So the money where you may be making some savings, you're going to be spending more in other areas. So you're not saving anything at all, and actually you'll be spending more as well.
Patreon.com, Turn Left Media. Support independent media. Support social justice that's there on social media. Thank you, Turn Left.